All right. Episode 4 of the podcast. We're doing Fall Guys again because we need a redemption story. We didn't win. Neither of us won a game in the second podcast. So we're back for a redemption story. I'm going to kick Andrew's ass. And that's it. It's plain and simple.
Well, Johnny, you're not. You know why?
Why?
Because it's DC time.
Wow. We've had, 4 episodes now? And that's 4 Diet Cokes already. I think it's got to be like a podcast tradition for you to drink a Diet Coke. Anyways, yeah, 4th episode. Pretty excited about this one because we're gonna be talking about some pretty cool things. I feel like we're cranking out episodes faster than like Mexican mothers cranking out babies, and like they crank out babies pretty quick now. Well, what? What made you think of that? Like, how did you even come up with that? Well, like, because everyone, like, if you're at least, quarter Mexican or full Mexican, whatever you are, like, everyone's got that, like, one grandma who, like, grew up with, like, 12, like, brothers and sisters.
I'd say, yeah. I mean, I guess when you explain yourself a little bit, it's a little out of pocket, but with the explanation, it makes a little sense.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, Taco Bell had, like, their own, like, presentation for freaking menu items, right? Like an apple keynote.
Damn it. That's kind of crazy. Apple keynote for Taco Bell items. I didn't say it. We got Taco Bell keynotes before GTA 6, man.
I know, it's crazy. What'd you think of it, though? Do you like Taco Bell in general? Let's start with that.
Let's talk about why I hate Taco Bell with a passion. Because it's like, rumors are true. Like, they're going to mess you up, aren't they? Your stomach?
No. That's all propaganda from the internet. Don't believe everything you hear from the internet. Taco Bell is good. It's not authentic Mexican food, but it's good.
You're telling me like how Panda is authentic Chinese food?
Right. Yeah, that's basically Taco Bell. It's like it tries to be Mexican, but it's not, but it's good. And that's all that matters. I think a lot of the new menu items are like, what if we just got something that already existed but made it spicier?
Let's kind of go through the products that they released and see which one sounds good. So they released Queso Crisp Taco, Flaming Hot Burrito. So I'm assuming that's hot Cheetos or no?
Doritos or Fritos. I think it was Fritos. They mentioned it was Fritos. Flaming Hot Fritos.
Okay. Damn it. Screwed.
And
what's the next item on there?
Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Or like they're gonna make like a pie out of it, actually. Or not, was it a pie or like a cake? It was one of the two, but it was pretty green. It looked like the freaking Hulk.
What's the flavor of the Baja Blast?
Mountain Dew. Or like it's supposed to taste like Mountain Dew. I can't say for drinks. I never had Mountain Dew, but
now.
They have like the drink, but not the pie or the cake, whatever it is they announced.
Oh, okay. So then they have that one. Interesting. Mountain Dew. Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Baja Blast turns 21 years old, and no birthday is complete without a birthday cake. So I just need a little bit of help. Can we all blow out the candles for Baja Blast, please? Okay, here we go. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Now that Baja Blast is 21, we think it should stay out a little bit later. So this year, we are launching Taco Bell's first ever new flavor of Baja Blast. Baja Blast Midnight. It is the flavors of the tropical lime storm that you love with a burst of passion fruits. It's going to pair with everything that you love at Taco Bell. The first time we've ever launched a new flavor of Baja Blast. And you don't have to wait. Baja Midnight is coming to all of our restaurants this summer.
I'll buy the Baja Blast with my Bitcoin.
Hey, yeah, huh? How's Bitcoin looking right now? I know the last time we spoke, it took a big hit, but any updates on that?
It took a big hit today just because of what's happened with the Trump finally signed the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which is what had everyone hyped in the Bitcoin world. And then ever since he signed it, I think they were expecting a little bit more because all he did was establish a framework for it, but didn't outline any new purchases for it. The people thought that when he'd announced it, he'd be like, oh, and on top of announcing it, we're actually going to, as of next week or over the next month or over the next year, we're going to be buying 50 million in Bitcoin or whatever. But he said nothing about new purchases. The crypto market obviously hated that. And so then they sold. There's some selling pressure and $200 billion worth of liquidity exit, which just means pretty much $200 billion worth of sell. Selling is what happened today. I mean, the crypto market in particular for Bitcoin's market capitalization is like 1.7 trillion. So 200 billion is like a little more than 10%. 10% would be, yes, 10% would be 170 billion, right? So it's a little bit more, and maybe 12% or whatever. So that happened today, and that was kind of crazy. On top of what happened today too was the thing with the tariffs, man. They're just every day you're getting something different, every single day.
What's going on today? Because we recorded our third episode from our podcast yesterday talking about it, and it seems like there's like a complete 180 with them now, right?
I know, yeah, we had to kind of change what we were talking about because everything changed. I mean, the latest we have in terms of investments, I'm going to load up my Fall Guys again. The latest we have in terms of investments is Honda has now announced that they're going to make the next generation Honda Civic, which is one of their best-selling vehicles, if not the best, in Indiana. Instead of, I believe they were supposed to be making it in Mexico, assembling it. So that's a big deal. That's supposed to create about 30 to 40,000 new jobs in Indiana associated with that. And then the other thing that happened, was it Wednesday or Tuesday? I think it was Wednesday or no, Monday maybe, is that Trump held a meeting in the White House talking about, he had the Taiwan Semiconductor CEO come in, and they announced that they're going to do $100 billion investment in producing plants, or create plants basically in Arizona to produce the chips that they make. The chips that they make are crazy though. Taiwan Semiconductor, if you ever have a chance to look them up, they make chips that go into like fighter jets. They make chips to handle all kinds of military equipment. The world literally runs on their technology. So it's kind of a big deal that they're coming here. It's not only a geopolitical advantage, I think, by having them closer to us, but it's also obviously a financial advantage by having them here. I'm sure they're going to benefit from it financially too, because they're going to a corporate tax rate of 0%, or pretty damn close to that, pretty low. I don't know if it's 0, but I know obviously it's got to be lowered. Otherwise, why would they come here in the first place? And they're going to be saving the cost. So in terms of investment, you're starting to see it come through. I mean, Apple recently too, not too long ago, they announced they're doing $500 billion over 4 years in the United States, building a factory in Texas, and their big thing is silicone engineering. So ever since they separated ways, because Qualcomm used to make the chips for the iPhone, and now Apple started making their own, engineering in the silicone sector of their business is incredibly important and vital. So they're going to have to do a lot of R&D and a lot of manufacturing to figure out how they want to build that. And I guess they're choosing to do it here, kind of divest away from China. Again, it's a geopolitical move. It's a financial move. We'll see what that brings to the products. Obviously, these are all motivated by tariffs. That's why I'm talking about them in the same sentence as tariffs. So we'll see. There's a lot of things to think about, but why? What do you think about those topics, those investments?
Yeah, so, I'm hearing chips, I'm hearing AI, I'm hearing, more money's being invested into the United States in itself. So I'm assuming that's a pretty good thing, right? Like, is that a safe assumption to make?
You would think, yeah, you would say so. I mean, if you're looking at things in a binary way of the investment itself creating jobs, yes. So then when you look at it in an economic sense, rather than listening to all the chatter and people freak out about what it means, let's try to look at it a little holistically and look at both ends of it. So a couple things that could happen. One, tariffs, economically speaking alone, are inflationary. So all the people that are saying that this is going to make prices go up are technically right on paper. All right. So you can't really argue with that point. Now, in economics, there's this thing called externalities, which is another fancy way of saying when something is produced or something happens, there's an economic effect that isn't financial. So the example I gave in our last podcast was when someone buys an electric car, a positive externality is that you're obviously helping fight climate change. When you buy a gas car, a negative externality is that you're basically contributing to climate change. So we'll put that into the perspective of this conversation now. There's going to be negative and positive externalities from this. We don't know yet. No, prices will probably go up, but will those prices going up be offset by the number of jobs that are created? Will the prices go up be offset by the number of investment that we have here? Those tax breaks that would necessarily be taxed, because a tax is also essentially inflationary, right? Depending on what they do. Now, a lot of corporations figure out ways to try to pay minimal taxes, but by reducing that, you're also potentially offsetting part of the tariff, economically speaking, by allowing them to pay a lower tax rate. More employment is one thing to remember when all of this is going on and people are freaking out and having different opinions about the market, is that the single biggest weapon when it comes to keeping an economy strong is keeping the middle class employed to the point where they keep spending money. If the middle class is spending money 9 out of 10 times, no matter what else is going on, I would argue, you probably make a damn good argument too, that the economy is going to do okay.
All right. I think at least.
Yeah, 20. I mean, and it makes sense too, because when you look at it, 28% of the world economy is dependent upon the U.S. consumers' health. Meaning that people like you and I that go to work and then spend money at places like Taco Bell or that sort of thing, average person, the entire world economy depends on 28%, or we handle 28% of the world economy. We have yet to see, I think, just beyond, I don't think tariffs in this particular case are an argument of prices are getting more expensive. I think there's more to it that we're going to get to see, because we've already seen, I personally believe, my personal opinion, that tariffs are more of a negotiation tactic to get other things that he wants. So knowing that, I wouldn't necessarily jump to a conclusion off of one press title or one statement that's made. So I would just stick tight in a way and see what happens, but we don't know what those effects are yet. So let's try to take a holistic approach. The U.S. consumer is the most important thing. As long as they're healthy, then we can hopefully depend on other parts of our economy holding it. The jobs number came out today, and I believe, don't want to screw this up, so I think it was 70,000, let me see, jobless claims today. We'll look that up just to be accurate.
Okay, let me ask you one thing.
Sure.
What isn't inflationary? Because it seems like anything the U.S. government does is like, inflation can do this, inflation can do that. So like, what can they possibly do, or do you think they can do that isn't like inflationary?
Ooh, that's a pretty deep question. No, I see what you're trying to say. You're like, if inflation's so bad, then why do we have it, right? Is that what you're trying to get at?
Or like, why is it that every solution we can come up with is inflationary?
Interesting. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people, and rightfully so, are arguing this isn't the solution because it is inflationary. So I can respect the effort to be creative in how to solve this problem with inflation and trade deficits. Our trade deficit today stood at $144.4 billion when it came in as of this morning. And the highest it was ever gotten to pre-pandemic was $64 billion. So in 5 years, our trade deficit has more than doubled. So obviously there's call for concern that we need to do something about it at some point. That does not mean that tariffs are the answer. This administration has chosen to make tariffs their main weapon in fighting this. But inflation's always going to be around no matter what. If there is an inflation, that's also a bad thing. That's called deflation. And deflation is bad because if things start to contract, normally it's only because of one thing, because a lot of people are unemployed and they can't provide or afford services or anything like that. So deflation would be like one of the most horrible things ever. So you want inflation, you just want to keep it low and steady and reliable in terms of what it's going to be. You don't want like a bunch of surprises like last year when it was 8 point or 9 point whatever. So what's something that could probably be non-inflationary? Maybe government spending is probably the biggest issue, I would say, and so forth. I think this administration came at it with a lot of urgency, and in that urgency, rather than trying to establish a more holistic approach to what their solution that they were trying to come to, they ended up going to an extreme, which is, like, you could argue any kind of extreme on either side of the aisle is bad when you're trying to solve issues like this one. Because what was stopping them from saying, first, let's figure out what's going to go on with the consumer. Then once we figure out what's going on with the consumer, let's try to keep inflation under control, and then let's worry about tariffs, if that's what they wanted to do, right? So I feel like, personally, there's better ways to handle it. So that would maybe answer your question. What's something that they could do that's not inflationary? Maybe wait till the consumer is doing a little better, I would argue, than they are now. So that the fight against trade deficits and so forth with tariffs aren't putting as much pressure on the consumer when it comes to consumer prices. That's one thing you can say. You're right. Just like pause, hit the brakes. You're trying to do some good. Okay, maybe I don't agree with what you're doing, or I do agree with what you're doing or how you're doing it, but maybe we can all agree, slow down. Let's not go so extreme on all these things. Let's not go so fast. We don't know what the effects are. In economics, things, you don't see the effects of things until months later. So the effects of what's going on now with the tariffs, you're not going to see until later in the year. So who's to say that later in the year we're not in a recession? I personally don't think so, but you never know. So why not take the time to be responsible enough to slow down?
Okay. Do you think like the average person like recognizes this or is aware of this? What do you
No,
No?
no, I think the average person reads one piece of media and then rolls with that. Yeah, so it does. So like you could technically go to Walmart and be like, I want fries, and be like, oh, here's my crypto wallet. Can I pay for, or here's my debit card associated with my crypto account. I'm going to pay with this. Do you think that's like where we're headed? Or do you think people will always be paying with dollars and just have crypto as an investment?
Um, I do think we'll eventually head down to like multiple forms of payments, whether it's the dollar, Bitcoin, or any form of crypto. I think the only reason why it doesn't seem that way right now is because it's still something that's, I guess, relatively new. Many people are not really aware of it, but I feel like later on down the line, like your average like finance classes or your average like high school classes might be talking about it more, and more people will start getting into it. On the contrast, though, like I think the government trying to get involved with it in terms of like regulations, which might scare people off or might attract more people. I guess it depends how you look at it.
Like, would you see yourself using that Bitcoin card and buying like your ice cream at Vaughn's using your crypto wallet?
I mean, at least from what I know about Bitcoin, or like you get into like detail with everything else, like I'd assume like it's the same thing as spending like X amount of dollars elsewhere. So yeah,
man,
I would.
it's super exciting. If you like the way we're going is kind of exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what will happen to it in the next 10 years or maybe 50 or whatever. Going back to like Taco Bell thing, they have this one thing where like you can create like your own like menu item, and like other people can order like what you ordered. So like let's say we created like a burrito and it's got like 10 layers of beef and like 2 pounds of like avocado ranch sauce, and we called it the Otter Burrito. If people ordered our burrito and actually used it, we can get like rewards and points and stuff like that. And who knows, maybe we could get sponsored by Taco Bell.
So how would we publish our burrito though?
I think once that like feature is out, I'm not sure yet, but they talked about it during that presentation. I was just thinking we create our own burrito and we just make it really crazy. Like I said, like 10 layers of beef and 2 pounds of avocado ranch. It was 10 flour tortillas. 10 flour tortillas.
How much would it be?
I have no idea. I have to look more into it, but I think that'd be pretty cool. All right. Thanks for watching our podcast or listening to podcasts. Stay tuned for next. Oh, wow, there goes my eardrums. Quack. Anyways, peace out.